She would always tell me the story of how she found me. She said one night right before closing up, she'd heard the sounds of a crying baby. After searching, she found me wrapped in a blanket in a basket. The only thing she found in the basket was a locket and a note asking her to take care of me and the name my mother had chosen, Brittany. If you want to hear more of this story and stories like mine, like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell too so you'll know when more stories are uploaded. One afternoon, while sitting watching the television, Mrs. Davis received a phone call that changed everything. Hello? Mrs. Davis said as she placed the phone by her ear. She listened to the person on the other end of the phone and every so often added a hmm and an okay. That was Dr. Miller. They got back the results of my test. I tested positive for breast cancer. She said softly after saying goodbye to the person on the phone. I hugged Mrs. Davis and tears ran down my cheeks. For 14 years, she was the only mother I knew, and I wasn't ready to let her go. She pulled me away gently and looked into my eyes. I think it's time to get you a new family. I don't want a new family, I cried through the tears. I know, honey, but we need to prepare for the worst, okay? I will make sure you get adopted by a great family, Mrs. Davis said, pulling me close once again. In the next few weeks, Mrs. Davis, together with an adoption agency, screened numerous families to make sure that I received the best. The family that Mrs. Davis chose was Mr. and Mrs. White. They had no children and they were billionaires. Would you believe it? The day finally arrived when it was time for me to leave the only home I knew. Don't worry, Mrs. White said. You can call Mrs. Davis every day, and she is welcome to come and visit any time she wants. I hugged Mrs. Davis. Bye for now. I'll call you when I get there, okay? We arrived at Mr. and Mrs. White, and they gave me the grand tour of their mansion. The outdoors was equipped with a pool, tennis court, and even a stable filled with horses. Brittany, please feel free to ask us for anything. We just have one rule, Mrs. White said. I nodded, and she continued. You aren't allowed in the basement. We are currently doing some work down there, and it's filled with loose floorboards and tools. We don't want you to get injured, okay? Mr. White said, placing his hand on my shoulder. I nodded. I can do that, I said, smiling. Days turned into weeks. I enjoyed living with the Whites, and I called Mrs. Davis every day. She even came to visit a few times. Of all the rooms and things to see in the mansion, my favorite place was the kitchen. Jane was a few years older than I was, and she was the cook's daughter. I stayed in the kitchen for hours baking with Jane or just chatting. One night, I got up for a midnight snack. I was munching on a handful of cookies on my way back to bed when I heard it. A low, soft moan. I thought that my mind was playing tricks as I walked through the dimly lit halls, but I stopped in my tracks when I heard it again. It sounded like a wounded animal. I ran as fast as I could to my room. I locked the door behind me and pulled the covers over my head. I wasn't even hungry anymore. Little rays of sunlight streamed through my blinds before it felt safe enough to get some sleep. I staggered into the kitchen at 12:30 p.m. and sat by the kitchen counter. You look like something the cat dragged in, Jane said as she stirred the pot in front of her. Jane, I asked hesitantly, how long have you worked here? Oh, I officially started working here 3 years ago, but I've been coming to work with my mother since I could walk, she says as she prepared sandwiches for me to eat. Have you ever heard any strange noises at night? I asked as I sipped the juice that Jane set in front of me. No, the staff usually got home at night, and we get here at 5 a.m. every morning, Jane said. Is something wrong? No, no, it's okay, I said. I decided that I would investigate the sounds that I heard, but I would not tell Mr. and Mrs. White about it. That night, I waited until the house was silent before I exited my room. I sat in the hallway for over 2 hours just waiting. Maybe it was my mind playing tricks on me, I said sleepily and yawned. This is a waste of time. I'd better go to bed. As I was walking back to my room, I heard it, the weird noises. I stopped. Where are you coming from? I muttered to myself. I walked slowly down the hall. It was coming from the walls, through the vent. I followed the noise until it led me to the basement. Mr. White did tell me that the only rule was to stay out of the basement, I thought to myself. I heard the sound louder this time and turned the knob on the basement door. It was locked. Damn it, I thought. Tomorrow I will have to figure out where Mr. and Mrs. White keeps the key. I walked back to bed wondering what was behind the closed door. The next day, Mr. and Mrs. White went on a 2-day conference out of the country. I spent my day in the kitchen with Jane. What's the deal with the basement? I asked Jane. Mr. White has been renovating that basement for 3 years. Not even staff is allowed in there. When he first started the renovations, though, he was acting a bit strange. changed the subject, maybe thinking that she